what's your take on this right now? Because this is a different strategy, obviously, than anything we've seen in the last 8 years, but it's different than a lot of politicians in that he's like, okay, we may be sort of friends with Russia, or we may be trying to be friends with Russia, but I'm going to up my ante as much as they're up in theirs.
Yeah. Well, first of all, let's put this in a little bit of context, because there are two words here that we got to be careful about. One is modernize or strengthen, and the other one is expand. Under the New START Treaty of 2010, within about a year and a few months, both the United States and Russia are bound by treaty to reduce the number of vehicles, ICBMs, land and sea-based intercontinental ballistic missiles and strategic bombers to 700, and the number of warheads to about 1,550. Now, right now, we've got more vehicles than the Russians do. We got close to 700. They got 500 and some odd. So, but more importantly, we have a technological advantage that comes from the fact that the Soviets, the Russians, last modernized their weapons in the late 70s and early 80s, and we last modernized our weapons in the late 80s, early 90s. So we have a technological advantage. So what Russia has been doing the last couple of years is, within the cap set by the New START Treaty, 700 vehicles, 1,550 warheads, they've been modernizing their arsenal, and they've been using some threatening language. In the middle of October, at an arms bazaar in Moscow, Putin said, well, we're gonna add 40 new ICBM missiles this year to our strategic forces. Well, what they're doing is they're replacing 40 old missiles with 40 of the new ones. And earlier in the month, he was said, we're going to, he basically tried to discourage Trump from following forward on President Obama's modernization of our nuclear arsenal by saying we're going to have to neutralize that by upping our game even more. So, look, we've agreed to a limit, and the Russians have modernized their system. Obama responded properly by modernizing our system. President Trump is well advised to say to the Russians, nothing you can say or do is going to keep us from continuing to modernize and strengthen our systems. And I hope he also says, we're not going to be, by your language, we're not going to be discouraged from our missile defense
Well, let me
systems
share with you and the viewers, Karl, a letter that Vladimir Putin sent to Donald Trump. It was effectively a Christmas greeting, and I'll share some of it here. I hope that after you assume the position of President of the United States of America, we will be able, by acting in a constructive and pragmatic manner, to take real steps to restore the framework of bilateral cooperation in different areas, as well as to bring our level of collaboration on the international scene to a new level. In other words, he seems to be making an overture here, hoping to get a clean slate, perhaps with Donald Trump. Donald Trump responded positively, saying, a very nice letter from Vladimir Putin. His thoughts are so correct. I hope both sides are able to live up to these thoughts, and we do not have to travel an alternate path. Is there a little bit of a threat in that? In other words, he's saying, and I hope we do not have to travel an alternate path? Yeah,
well, look, this is the trouble with 140-character statements. Twitter statements don't have the ability to have enough language in them that would be clear. I hope it is a message to Putin. I hope it's backed up by a belief of the president-elect of, you have been adventurous in you've taken Crimea, violating international norms. You are threatening Ukraine. You are threatening and harassing our allies in the Baltics who are members of NATO, to whom we have a specific commitment to defend. You are using your muscle and your power around the world against our interests. Stop it. And if you want to be our friend, then act like our friend and knock some of the stuff off.
Let me ask